Thank you very much for being here. We're with President Matthew Holland of Utah Valley University. And last year, he was the winner of Education Dive's Executive of the Year Award. And so I just wanted to open it up and say, how have your last 12 months been in office?
Well, I have to say, first of all, thank you for having me in today, and thank you for the award. It really, I think, was a key element of what's been, frankly, one of the most rewarding professional years of my life. That's no exaggeration. Shortly after winning the award, I had an opportunity to apply for a senior summer associate program at Oxford University, and noted the award and that I wanted to write about some of the things that had happened at UVU. And it led to some interesting opportunities there I'd be happy to visit with you about, and also caught the attention of some other institutions around the world, at least in Canada. One in particular, a large community college, read the article and the announcement with interest and invited me up to be their advisor about how they follow the UVU dual model mission.
Incredible. So what have been some of your highlights and challenges from the last year?
So again, the opportunity to go to Oxford for the summer was very rewarding. I'd gone there to kind of reboot intellectually and academically. I've been in my presidency now for 8 years, and this was a chance to return to my political science and history roots. And I had a project to work on a piece of correspondence, correspondence between Jefferson and Madison. That's my area of expertise, is early American political thought. So I was excited to go do that, but I also said I wanted to write about the UVU dual model, where we have a community college and we have built around that a thriving university. And I thought that the folks at Oxford would, sort of find that interesting or whatnot. But I mentioned that, this was catching national attention, and I'd received this great honor from Education Dive, and I think in large part in response to our innovations with this model. And they wrote back and they said, well, we welcome you to come. We want to, grant you this award and have you come for the summer. And we think you should pursue your studies in American political thought. But we think that we really agree with the folks at Education Dive. You're onto something here. And so we'd invite you to explore your model with us and write about that. And so when I got to Oxford, again, I was sort of thought most of the conversations would drift towards Jefferson and Madison and philosophy and history. But almost every conversation turned towards the UVU and our dual model mission. And this led to a couple of opportunities to present, including a culminating moment to present at Parliament. And so I had lunch with a member of the House of Lords. I told her how surprised I was with the interest people had in this dual model mission of a community college that works side by side with the university. And so she said, well, of course people are excited. This is a kind of an issue for our times here post-Brexit. We're trying to figure out how to do vocational education better. We're trying to figure out how to make university education more applicable to workforce development. And you have something that speaks right to that with a single institution. So she invited me down, and we worked together to put together a panel, and we had representatives from the House of Lords, the House of Commons, from Labor, the Conservative Party, the Liberal Democrat Party, the Church of England, public intellectuals. It was just a really exciting, robust thing. And I have to thank the significance of the Education Dive Award that helped lead to some of those opportunities. And then after I came home, I was contacted by the president of Red Deer College in Alberta, Canada, and he said, look, I'm the president of the largest community college in Alberta, and we saw we read about your award and about your institution on Education Dive, and that's exactly what we think we need to do. That's the model we want to pursue. Will you come out and advise us on this? So just a few weeks ago, I flew up to Canada, and I met with the president of Red Deer College and their full board and the Minister of Higher Education for Canada, or for Alberta, and to discuss this unique model and why we think it works, why it works financially, how it helps with workforce development. And looks like that's going to move forward. And so the model is picking up steam. And again, Education Dive was sort of in the center of all of that in terms of helping to get the word out about what we're doing and why it has the advantages it has.
So I'm so happy to hear that Education Dive was able to have some positive feedback for you in your job and in your role as president. Another thing I wanted to add into that conversation about bringing in your experience, having been an associate professor and also with vocational training experience as well, is a lot of presidents now have this role of, especially with higher ed budgets from the state getting a lot smaller, needing to not only be the spokesperson for students and for the institution, but very much so being the CEO and managing the books, understanding how to keep their institutions not only going, but to stay relevant in the industry largely. And so I wanted to ask, because other presidents are trying to fit that role as well now with the industry having so much disruptive innovation happening, what's your advice to presidents maybe who don't have that background but need to fit that role?
So it's a great question, and I think it is something presidents need to be asking themselves and wrestling with right now. And I would say a couple of things. Either they've got to really sort of dig in and try to do that themselves, which is something of what I did. I came from a very academic background. I was in political science and history and philosophy, and fortunately I'd had a little stint in management consulting before I went to graduate school, so I'd had some training in these areas and some exposure to it that I've drawn upon. But I really tried to harken back to some of that earlier training that I had, and just say to myself, look, I can't just afford to be just a quote academic president or even just a fundraising president. We've got to really think through some of these strategic issues and the management issues involved. And so part of it is just making sure that it becomes a priority in your own mental model about how you're going to be a leader. But then the other key is to surround yourself with smart people who can do this. And I think that needs to be done both internally and externally. So I made sure that I had good people on my team who could complement my strengths and areas where I needed more help, and listen to them and empower them to help bring in good counsel to me about how we make decisions on these things moving forward. But also, importantly, to have a lot of input and involvement from outside the university. So I've got multiple advisory boards on different issues and at different levels, and I listen carefully to them. Now they don't run the university, I run it, and we run it in a shared governance kind of way with input from faculty and staff, but we get a lot of really expert advice from folks who are very smart in the world of competition, the world of business, and we have to do that now if we're going to survive in higher ed moving forward.
Perfect. Great. So thank you so much for speaking with Education Dive. We are so happy that the distinction of being Executive of the Year last year in our Higher Ed Awards was able to have tangible benefits, and thank you so much for stopping by the office to talk with us.
Well, thank you. It's been a remarkable year, and it's hard to believe it's been a year. It's gone so fast, but it was a great honor, and it has led to some concrete benefits to me. And to, I think, some of the innovations we're trying to pursue here at Utah Valley University and that higher ed needs to pursue. And I commend you folks for looking at education in a fresher, more innovative way. We've got to do this collectively if we're going to make sure that everyone who needs access to higher education gets it in a meaningful and real way.
Great.